that actually reminded me of losing teeth, which reminded me of the elementary school I went to, which was it's on 32nd Avenue in Roosevelt in West Phoenix. It's J.B. Sutton School, so drop by and say hi and let them know that I sent you. But other than lose teeth, I was specifically reminded of this one time that me and this one kid, Sergio, were hanging out, and we were, for some reason, we weren't ditching, but somehow we had permission to like float around during class when class was going on. So every Friday we had what was called a pickle sale. Did anybody have these? Like a candy sale, but we call it like I don't know, in our district we call them pickle sales, because they would sell those big Arnold's dill pickles. And so we got to hit the pickle sale early, and Sergio decided it would be a good idea to eat one of these, like wolf down one of these pickles. And so he did that, and we walked around for a while, and he's like, I'm gonna get some water at the water fountain. And so he goes to the water fountain and like takes down, like totally swallows up like more water than like his body could probably handle, which actually turned out that his body couldn't handle all that water and pickle at the same place. Kind of like, I imagine, antimatter to how that works. So something had to give, and we were getting ready to play basketball, and he's like, oh man, hold on. And it's always a bad thing when your friend tells you, oh man, hold on. And so he like totally hurled, and it was like all it was this water and pickle chunks. And it kind of looked like he had eaten Slimer from Ghostbusters and vomited him up. This story involves no bodily fluids. Yeah, I know. But it does involve ditching school. When I was in high school, I went to Mesa High, and I had a teacher, one teacher that I absolutely loved. Her name was Mrs. Falk. She was my history teacher. It was the only class that I actually passed trying. And her class was right after lunch. So we had our 45-minute lunch, and I found out one day that it was her birthday. So I went out and ended up ditching the class before lunch so I could go down to this local grocery store that I worked at, get a giant cake, have them write happy birthday Mrs. Falk, because I didn't know what her first name was, and then I got like a ton of plates and forks from the cafeteria, and we snuck up there after lunch, and I was kind of like coming in late, and after I came in, she was kind of yelling at me and stuff like that. And as she was yelling at me, I had this whole congregation of students come walking in with the cake, singing happy birthday to her. And as they're singing happy birthday to her, I was just kind of looking at her, and she started crying, and I started freaking out because it wasn't the first time I ever made a teacher cry. And usually it ended up really badly for myself. But I later learned out these were tears of joy. She was happy of what I did for her. And she came up, and this was the first time in my young life that an adult ever hugged me, other than, my mom and my dad. But she came up, and she gives me this really big hug, and was like, can you hold? I went like this, like I was at a strip club, because I did not know how to react to my teacher hugging me. And after that, I couldn't look her in the eyes. I felt like I did something dirty with my teacher. So two final things, because I think we're going to wrap up really soon. I saw a teacher cry in junior high, and it was the worst, shittiest thing in the whole wide world, even though I had nothing to do with the reason why. So it was 7th grade. The teacher was Mrs. Jones, and she was in her 50s, and she'd been teaching for a long time, and she was really nice and sweet, and she taught language arts. And I had like a bunch of, there were 5 dudes who were just total idiots, jackasses, and dumb fucks. Like all of that wrapped up into one. For some reason, and I don't remember exactly how it went down, but they started joking around in class while she was trying to teach a lesson. They would not listen to her at all, and she told them many times and warned them hey, please listen to me, I'm trying to teach you guys and this and that. And they would not let up, and they would not listen to her. And finally, 15 minutes before the end of class, she totally lost it, and she stopped everything, and she gave her own personal history of how long she had been teaching,
and how that she had never been around students who were that disrespectful, and like tears are streaming from her face, and she had lost her voice while she was crying and yelling at the kids. And she basically left the classroom with I think she dropped, like, hey, like, if you, like, hopefully one day you'll find someone to teach you who cares about you like I do. And she left the classroom. And it was like, I felt shitty, and I didn't even do anything. But it was like watching the jackasses look at each other and not know what to do was really amazing.
All right, this is my last one. So remember, I told you I love my mom. Me and my mom are very, very close. You know, I don't get to see her as much as I want to because she lives out in Payson now. But about, I don't know, a month ago, or it was in January actually, she ended up going to the emergency room because she's a heavy smoker. She couldn't breathe at all. Like literally she would get up, walk 2 steps, and be out of breath. It was really scary because, you know, my dad's the one who is plagued with all of these, you know, horrible diseases and all this other shit, you know. My mom's like the Rock, right? You know, and to see her in the hospital room was just heartbreaking to me. And it turns out, you know, she has like emphysema and COPD, which isn't shit you want to deal with, right? And I went to go visit my mom in the hospital, and this was over at Scottsdale Healthcare Shea. And sitting there with my mom, and, you know, we were talking, and finally my mom just breaks down, and she goes, why did this happen to me? Why did this happen to me? Without missing a beat, I looked her in the eyes, and I said, because God hates you, Mom.
That is a callback. And that is how we're going to end. Thank you very much. This storytelling stuff is a little bit different than what we normally do. We usually improvise scenes and all sorts of a whole show. But thank you very much to everybody here at Femocracy and at the Alwun House. And we'll turn you back over to, I believe it's Cynthia. Yes, please welcome Cynthia back to the stage.